I'm super excited for day 2 for our user conference. Hope all of you have been able to log into some of the sessions that have been fantastic, and today's session will be no exception. Corey and I had the pleasure of previewing these presentations, doing some tech rehearsals, and I'm just really excited about both of these presentations today. First, I will introduce our friends at Dell, and Corey, I think you're going to advance a slide for me. I'd like to introduce Scott Morgan and Joy Rechanek from Dell Computers. They'll be talking about their awesome chatbot project, which just actually got launched recently. It's been a pleasure to work with their team for this really unique chatbot. So Scott and Joy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, everyone. Welcome to our showcase on how we're using chatbots to help prepare for the future of work. As Vince mentioned, my name is Scott Morgan. I'm joined by my colleague, Joy Rechanek. We're both senior learning experience designers at Dell Technologies. To start off, I want to provide a little background around the program that our chatbot is supporting and some of the problems that we faced that led us to implementing a chatbot to support learning. So first, how do you prepare for the future of work? How do you prepare a really large and diverse workforce like we have at Dell for a future that's kind of largely unknown and we know will be driven by change? And we know some of the trends that will shape the future of work are already in motion. Things like AI, automation, and hybrid work. And a commonality among these trends is that they require an adaptive, innovative, and connected workforce. And these skill sets are really kind of uniquely human. And research shows that these human skills are really in demand now and will be even more so in the future. So we set out to build an innovative on-demand development program centered around these human skills, but we needed more than just an on-demand program. So human skills are in demand, but they require a lot of practice. So developing these skills presents some really unique L&D challenges. They're really behavior-driven, which requires consistent and sustained effort and practice on the part of the learner, and prolonged support and guidance from L&D teams like us. And so learning must really be extended past that initial learning experience and become more habitual to solidify these skills. And on top of that, everyone is busy. Even if development and growth is a priority, it can be really hard to carve out time to practice. So we looked at all these kind of problems and questions, and we asked ourselves, how can we provide that one-on-one support for our team members to develop these human skills? So we built our on-demand course, which was that initial kind of learning experience, but we needed a way to provide that continued one-on-one support for a very large audience of learners. And that's where Mobile Coach comes in. So a chatbot support system. So as we set out to develop our bot, we had a few specific goals that we wanted the bot to accomplish. We wanted to provide a career planning and development tool. So we wanted the chatbot to prompt learners to create a learning plan and then discuss it with their leaders to build accountability. We wanted to reinforce skills by creating new learning habits. So our first course is about building a learning mindset. And one of the key points we make is that learning requires like a consistent effort over time. And so we wanted our chatbot to help learners do just that by providing long-term support and accountability. And last, we wanted to encourage knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer learning. So we wanted the chatbot to prompt learners to interact with peers and provide resources for them to share and discuss. And so we took those goals and we developed Dell's Chatbot, which is a friendly virtual learning partner that builds a relationship with team members and chats about how to develop their skills. And now I'll turn it over to Joy to walk you through some of the specifics of our chatbot.
Thank you, Scott. So let's start with a demo of the very first conversation that you have with our chatbot. During your first conversation, you'll notice that the chatbot asks when you'd like to chat every week. And setting this relationship will help you build a new learning habit over time It also helps us reach team members when it's best for them to learn. You'll also notice in this demo that the chatbot asks you to select a topic to learn about. In other words, what human skill you'd like to develop. So from the beginning, you personalize your chatbot experience. Now, our chatbot aspires to help you make learning part of your weekly routine. So over 13 weeks, the chatbot will act as your one-to-one learning support, and it'll require a small investment of your time, on average around 10 minutes per week. You'll have conversations with the chatbot that will help you dive deeper into developing a particular skill. And ultimately, the entire experience should help you develop your learning, communication, and career planning skills. So how does it do this? Well, the chatbot will build a relationship with you. It will proactively send you research-based tips on how to level up your skills. And these tips reinforce the on-demand course that accompanies the chatbot. Every time you receive a tip and interact with the chatbot, you'll unknowingly complete a micro lesson that has been disguised as a guided conversation. If you observe the demonstration on screen, you'll see the chatbot sharing a link to an article and asking you to think of how that information can be applied to your job. And it's a great example because our chatbot will regularly share tips on how to improve your work performance. In your conversations with the chatbot, you'll also be encouraged to take proactive steps in your career. For example, the demonstration on screen shows the chatbot encouraging you to find a colleague that can give you regular and honest feedback about your performance. You'll frequently be encouraged to share your knowledge and talk about your career plans with our chatbot. The chatbot will also regularly encourage you to have career conversations with your leader, and it will share tips on how to do so. And you'll receive this encouragement consistently over time from a friendly and helpful chatbot. Ultimately, the chatbot will be a tool that will help us get to know team members. A pilot of this chatbot is currently underway, and we are using the chatbot to study the learning preferences, communication practices, and career plans of our team members. For example, some questions we're looking to answer include, what skills are important to certain units within Dell Technologies? What are the learning habits of our team members? What are team members most interested in learning? What are their career goals? How are they taking steps towards them? Do they have conversations with their leaders about their career goals? Do they share information with their team? Among other things. And we're really excited about the future. In the future, we would like to create a bottery or a collection of chatbots that reinforce a larger set of human skills. So hopefully much more to come. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this brief overview of Dell's chatbot. We'd like to open the floor to Q&A.
Thank you, Joy and Scott. That was fantastic. Yeah, so folks, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section of the webinar. I'm curious, I love, part of the design that I love of your chatbot is how the buttons will really encourage engagement. Can you talk a little bit about how you came up with that and why you use such a sort of, I think, a very innovative button strategy for user engagement?
Sure. So one thing when we were designing the chatbot that we wanted to avoid is for the user or the learner to be passive for long periods of time. So the button decisions that we made within the chatbot are really to encourage engagement and also to focus answers for us. So on the back end of our design, it helped us simplify our design to be able to identify answers and then branch them accordingly, essentially, because the entire chatbot experience is a guided conversation experience. So simplicity in our design, and then being able to engage someone and keep them active, even if for short periods of time. That's really one of the main reasons why we decided to do that. Scott, I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I just think you made a great point. It really helps us kind of control our responses some, which makes it much easier kind of on our end of as far as branching and stuff like that. So it's really an easy way to control the responses from the user a little more.
Yeah, great. And Chris asks, does your bot connect to company systems like your LMS?
Currently, it does not. However, very interesting feature that we'd be interested in exploring in the future.
Thanks, great. And then Michael asks, do learners opt in voluntarily with an invite? And does the bot come into play as they start there or after they complete the soft skills course?
So it's the chatbot is tied to the course. So one of the last things they get when they complete the course is a pop-up that says you've unlocked the chatbot, and they go from there. So it is a voluntary opt-in, and it's tied into completion of the course. So it's meant to follow the course to kind of support what we've taught in the course.
Great.
Yes. And it's meant to really reinforce all of the skills that we're teaching in that course. Because as Scott said at the beginning, just having a course alone wouldn't be enough to help really teach and develop human skills. In this particular example, we're looking at learning skills specifically. So to be able to reinforce that, you need time and practice, which is why we looked at the chatbot as a fantastic opportunity to solve that problem in a fun way.
Yeah, the chatbot really helped us kind of practice what we're preaching, so to speak, in the course. So we say in the course, you really have to put in months of effort to really learn something. So here's the chatbot that's going to help you put months of effort into it.
Yeah, that's great. So Alan asks in the chat, can you expand on future plans with Bottery? He's not familiar, or Alan's not familiar with this approach. Are you referencing having multiple chatbots performing different functions?
Yes. So that term Bottery, we borrowed Stanford. Her name is Dr. Leticia Britos. And Bottery is a neologism. So it's basically referring to a collection of chatbots. So we would like to create a collection of chatbots as well to complement a program that we're designing at Dell Technologies. The whole point of the program is to help you develop human skills to prepare for the future of work. So we love the idea of using the chatbot to reinforce that. So we'd like to create different chatbots that reinforce different types of skills in the future.
And is the vision at Dell to have these chatbots just in Teams, or are you considering other messaging platforms too?
I would say probably just Teams, because it's the most widely used platform at Dell. It's like the first thing people check every morning. It's like part of our workflow. So I'd say probably sticking with Teams. I don't know. What do you think, Joy?
So I would agree with that. However, we're always open to different solutions. The reason why we selected Microsoft Teams is, as Scott mentioned, it is a very common tool, common communication tool that's used in our organization. So we really tried to think, when we were selecting the medium that we were going to deliver the chatbot, what do people use all the time already? What are they familiar with using? What's a common platform among everyone at Dell? And Microsoft Teams, in our case, was the answer to that. So that's why we put it into that particular container.
Great. So Kate asked, and actually had a very similar question. I'm going to add on to Kate's question, but Kate asks, what are a few lessons learned that you discovered going through this creation and pilot process? And I'll add on to that. Could you just maybe tell us a little bit about how long it took to design it? So lessons learned throughout the creating of it, and then about how long did it take?
Well, I can, let's answer the easy one first. So the development phase, Scott, help me find a number of months there. It's been a while.
I'd say actually like building out the chatbot, maybe, I don't know, Joy, 2 months maybe, but we went through lots of like training sessions with Sterling prior to that. So I don't know if you'd count that in the development. So actual building the chatbot, a couple months maybe.
Yes. So we, as Scott mentioned, we did have a great developer help train us on the platform, Sterling Mason. That took several months. So a guesstimate on this, 5 months, 4 to 5 months easily. The first phase was learning how to use the platform in conjunction with having the idea for the script behind it, which really is where we focused a lot of our energy as well. And then actually building it was about a month or two. I believe.
So do you anticipate then for future chatbots, it would not take that long? Or can you comment on maybe some of the chatbots you're envisioning for the bottery? Now that you're up and running and have some experience, do you anticipate it be faster or take just as long?
I definitely think it'd be faster next time. We've kind of gone through the learning curve, and now we feel pretty comfortable with the platform, which I would say was kind of the longest part, is just learning the platform, because it's got so much functionality and kind of learning what all it can do. And now that we're kind of more comfortable there, I think the next bot we build will probably go much quicker.
Yeah. And then just a nudge on Kate's question about what are some few lessons that you learned through going through the process?
Sure. Well, it's still early days. So as far as lessons learned from design and data, those are ongoing. We're still collecting data on that. However, we have received some feedback about the chatbot so far. People have looked at it as a learning partner, which we thought was really interesting. They've responded as well to it's sending resources that they can use in their role at Dell, which is great. That was one of our main goals. As far as any lessons as far as design and development, I guess one that I can throw in there, and Scott, feel free to add here as well. The script is extremely important for the chatbot design, especially in the style that we wrote this particular chatbot. It's meant to be a friendly guide to you. So being able to create a well-written script that is, approachable, it doesn't seem dry. It's not a necessarily quick transactional type of interaction. It is a relationship that's been built, that we're trying to build through the chatbot, that I think would be one of the most important things that we did. And as far as development, one of the lessons we learned, well, one of the things that was hard to learn was how to calendar things.
Yeah.
I think that would be the most challenging development aspect of it, and probably the most complex programming that we did on the chatbot. But definitely script content is really, really important. And the communications behind the chatbot, so how to promote it, is another very important aspect. Something that we're still doing to this day, because you can have a great script, a great chatbot, but no one knows about it. So I think those two elements, not just the content, but how you promote it, those are two really important things that we've learned and will be using in the future as well. As far as other learn bots that we've planned, we love an idea of a creativity chatbot, one to reinforce collaboration as well. So those are in the works.
Fantastic.
And I'll just add real quick to what Joy said about marketing. I think something we've learned going forward is like the chatbot can be really like something you put in the front of your marketing, and almost like a carrot to dangle in front of people to take your course, because we've noticed people are really excited. Like, we first launched the course and the chatbot wasn't quite ready, and we had people asking, when's the chatbot ready? When can I start? So it's been something people seem to be really excited about as an addition to a e-learning course.
Yeah,
great point.
Fantastic. So Takesh asks, how many languages are the bots deployed in?
Oh, good question. So currently it's in English. However, as we start to look at translations for the course that accompanies the chatbot, we'll also be looking at translations for the chatbot and implementing those.
Fantastic. I did notice that some folks joined a little late this today, which is totally great. But for those of you that joined late and missed Joy and Scott's demo of this really innovative chatbot, please log on later this afternoon, where the recording of this session will be up and running. I think it'll be really worthwhile for you to go check out the demo. So it doesn't look like there are any more questions. If you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A still. We'll keep an eye on that. But Joy and Scott, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking some time and showing off this awesome chatbot. Well done.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Vince. Yeah, appreciate it.
Great. And I think now Corey, yes, I love the Zoom hand claps or applause that we can do. So now I'm delighted to introduce Emma Weber. Emma's been a longtime friend and partner of Mobile Coach, a very innovative innovator with how to use chatbots with Coach M. So thrilled to have Emma with us. She is a trooper. She got up super early. She's in Sydney, Australia. And so, you know, we need to give her a huge kudos for getting up early to enlighten us and to help us learn about chatbots. So Emma, thank you very much. Are you still there? Have you had some coffee this morning?
Definitely had coffee. So I am delighted to be here sharing with everyone today. Thank you, Vince. We have been working together for over 5 years now, I think. Who would believe? And also to be delighted to be alongside the Dell team today, because obviously I'm working closely with other parts of their business. And I love this whole concept of the bottery. I love that we're looking at different ways we can use chatbots creatively today. So thank you, Vince. Before we jump in today, I'm going to get everyone to do an exercise, and no groans, please, from the audience. And you're going to hate doing this exercise, but it's only a minute. And you're going to hate it for the first 45 seconds. And when you get to the last 15 seconds, you're going to go, oh, so glad I did that. So I'm going to invite everyone to put your pens down, whatever you're holding in your hands, and to take a deep in breath for 3 seconds. Then we're going to hold for 4. And then we're going to out for 5 seconds through the mouth. And you're probably resisting right now, thinking, why am I doing that? We're going to do it again. In for 3. Hold for 4. Out for 5. And the third time is when you get all the benefits. In for 3. Hold for 4. And out for 5. And every time I do that, I get more present. And every time I do that, I'm grateful that I did. So why is this important to us when we are talking about chatbots? Well, one of the things that's really critical, just as we get to our presentation here, is that when you're learning, you need to get really present, and you need to get into your focus and change your mind out of the busy day-to-day. And in some ways, it's really counterintuitive to do that with a chatbot. I'm a real people person, have been my whole life. I'm my 20th year in business. And when we first started experimenting with Vince and the team, in the back of our minds, we were kind of experimenting to prove it couldn't be done, to prove that it was a ridiculous concept to try and replace or augment one of my fabulous human team with a chatbot. But of course, as we experimented and got into it, we found that it really is possible. So I wanted to get everyone super present today to just really stretch your mind as to what's possible and as to how you could actually have really effective chatbot coaches supporting your learning. So let's just look at the problem that we're looking to solve. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the whole concept of scrap learning. And of course, we just heard from the wonderful Scott and Joy around how they're elongating their learning journeys and giving people a chance to really practice after they've been on the course. So I'm really passionate about the behavioral change part of learning and how we get people to actually apply the learning and really adopt it as part of their behaviors. So this is around taking people beyond the kind of practicing the skill to really adopt it as part of the way they show up, either as a leader, as a salesperson, as an individual within the organization. And we know that if you're investing money in learning and you don't get all the way to the behavioral change or the application of learning, you're wasting your money that you've invested. Absolutely breaks my heart. And in addition to that, all the outcomes that you've wanted to put in place as part of the learning that you're creating wouldn't be achieved or achieved to a lower level. So that's my absolute reason for being. And what we did is we created the Turning Learning into Action methodology. And this was with our human team But because for us, reminding is a long way around to changing behaviors. And absolutely nagging, as we all know, if we've been nagged by anyone in the past, isn't a great way to help us change our behaviors either. So what we really wanted to do with the methodology that's now integrated into Coach M is to help create self-accountability for putting into place the actions that you nominate at the end of a learning program. So it's this real concept around self-accountability for what you nominate is going to help you excel in your role as part of learning. So we're all on the same page in terms of why we want to have the chatbot and what we're looking to achieve. So what are the actual goals that this chatbot delivers against? So the goals are really around anything that as an organization your learning is delivered to achieve. And so that could be, around soft skills. It could be around communication. It could be around sales. It's really whatever that program was designed to deliver. The chatbot helps deliver those goals because it creates the behavioral change, because people nominate what they're wanting to put in place. Now, you're going to have a chance to get hands-on with Coach M. I'm going to explain how that's going to happen in a moment. But one of the other exciting byproducts of Chatbot, and I love the way, Joy, you were explaining what you were going to be doing with data in the future and getting to know your team members, is that we can give insights and kind of proof of the impact of the actual programs that have been created. One of the other goals that we set out with Coach M, and as I sort of alluded to earlier, part of it was a disbelief that could this actually be, could we replicate or get close to a conversation that we would have with a similar human coach? Now, I've got a fabulous human team around the world. We deliver in 16 countries and 12 languages with the human team. And supplementing our human team with a chatbot coach has really been sensational. So we now have organizations that can either just work with the chatbot coach or can work with their human coach and a chatbot coach. And what, of course, that gives us is the scalability of coaching across an organization. And we're also starting to use this now, all led by our clients, to support development opportunities and professional development plans, as well as goals to support learning, although that wasn't our original intention. And as you get stuck into chatbots, you'll see the more you work with them, more opportunities you'll see for them. And the final goal is to really leverage the psychological safety of a chatbot. And it really astounds me that some people will share more with a chatbot than they would with a human coach, purely because they know they can't be judged. So really, really fascinating stuff. And if you do some research around mental health and chatbots, fascinating work being done in that space. So let's talk about our particular use case before we get hands on the tool. And really, it's been used now in to support multiple programs, multiple lengths of time. So it's anywhere between a sort of a 3 months and a 12-month experience. I just mentioned around the augmenting with human coaching, and I really think that's a big future of bots as to how we can really leverage to work best with a human team. The other interesting dynamic with Coach M, which I'm really excited for you to all experience in the future, is that it really turns the notion of chatbots on its head. I don't know if you would agree with this, Vince, but most chatbots are designed in some kind of customer service fashion to answer people's questions or deliver content. And a lot in the world, we kind of think, I need to know more, I need to know more. But actually, when you're integrating a chatbot as part of a program, often the knowing part has come through the learning journey. And the challenge is to actually get to do more. So Coach M asks people questions rather than answers their questions. And I'd kind of think this is probably the only chatbot that is doing that, maybe in your customer showcase, Vince, that Coach M is not going to tell you anything, but it will really get you thinking and it will really hold you accountable. So as I say, you'll get a chance to experience that as we go forward in the future. What also really surprised us is that people speak to Coach M for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. Now, our initial impressions would be that people would want to spend around 10 minutes with Coach M. But as we did with our breathing exercise earlier, when you really get people slowing down, ideally away from their desk, that we can get them in the moment, really thinking deeply and having a conversation with Coach M that's to benefit them, to benefit their performance and their outcomes, and to enhance the learning because it drives their outcomes. So this concept of a learning break is, we talk about it being a bit like a coffee break where you grab your mobile phone or your Surface and you sit and chat with Coach M about the action plan that you created. So feel free to put questions in the chat as we go along. We're also going to have time for Q&A at the end, but I'm always love good chat as we're going along. So if anyone's got anything they want to share or know as we're going through the deck, please do jump in. This is a very simple example flow here. And I've chosen just kind of a 3-month flow. I haven't put any kind of human integration here because that really is at the individual's choice, and you'll see how that works. But you'll have some kind of learning. And then an action plan is actually created during the learning workshop or the learning program. And then over time, we'd have a period of learning breaks. Now, these learning breaks, they're self-paced, but we have a scaffolded recommended time. And again, I love that Joy picked up calendaring. It's one of the most interesting aspects of the chatbot, but really essential to get that right so you can work with the individual at a time that is right for them. Along the bottom here, you'll also see the different analytics that are collected through the journey. I'll be talking about that at the very end of today because that has been a huge insight as we've gone through. So we are going to be today doing an action plan. We'll get on the tool very, very shortly. And then in 2 to 3 weeks' time, you'll have the chance to do a learning break. Oops. Sorry, madness on my deck here. And as you go through the learning break, that'll be your chance to reflect on and implement your learning from this particular conference. So I really challenge everyone as we're setting our action plans today, really think about either what you've learned from this session today, what you learned from the sessions yesterday, and what you can start putting into place from your learning across these 2 days so far. There'll be more learning to come, but let's actually just capture what we've learned so far. Okay, so is everyone prepared to actually get on the tool and have a bit of fun with this? I'm going to take a moment as you're getting on the tool to start to think about what you've learned through the conference. I know we're kind of springing on you a little bit here. Always say when you're setting up a chatbot, never have it as a surprise. Always let people know what's going to happen. Give them a chance to reflect first beforehand. But we're going to be engaging people. And Corey, I think you're going to be helping me out here.
Yes, I'll be in the chat momentarily.
Okay, wonderful. So you can either join via MS Teams. And I'm kind of thinking the MS Teams link is probably the best way to go. Much easier than the QR code. I mean, that's just my personal preference. Or you can use the QR code if you want to use SMS. And whether any Australian colleagues joining me at 5:30 in the morning, unlikely, but wanted to give people a chance if they're watching the recording, Vince. So I'm going to leave this on the screen for a second. And I'm actually going to stop our share, Vince, so that hang on, let's make sure people have got their QR codes.
So on the team, so that's what I'm choosing, brings up the chatbot, and then you would like us to put in the keyword m.demomc.
Yes, please. Excellent instruction there, Vince. Love it.
I'd love to hear in the chat, has anyone followed through those instructions? Is everyone, where are people at? Have you done that? Is that working?
Let's get people involved, and I'm going to be following along in the background here.
It worked for me. Corey, since we're stopped the screen share, you might put in the chat the keyword.
Oh, yes. Let me put the keywords in the chat. Smart. Okay, they'll be there very soon, everyone.
Nice work, Margaret. Rakesh, thank you. So as you go on, you're going to get multiple messages come through to you very quickly, okay? And I brief people as part of that when I'm working with them and set up in a room or a virtual learning. What we want to share with you immediately up front is all the privacy information and really kind of set context about what we're going to be working on. But most importantly, it's the privacy information. And I'm sure there'll be some talk throughout the conference around privacy and what's important there. I'm going to, when you're clicking on the, let's just get people. Let's just get a few more people here across. And Corey, I'm really with the, so the Microsoft Teams is probably the easiest way to access it, but I would use that in the chat box. Great, Sean. Michael, have you got the chat link now? Teams link, is that in the chat? I think it's underneath the phone numbers. So if you click on that shortened hyperlink, Corey's a little more adept. Here's me with my long, clumsy Microsoft Teams hyperlink.
I want it to be an easy click and they'll.
And Carla, I think actually if you use the hyperlink rather than the QR code, it's a little bit easier to chat. So just double check that you're in there. Oh, Carla, maybe there's an internet issue there, perhaps. Excellent, Jennifer, you're getting the policies. Fantastic. Okay, we're just going to have one more minute for anyone else that wants to get involved to get online before we're going to start moving forward. And what I would say is, team, just jump into this to have a play around if you feel that's useful to you. I loved seeing the Dell example this morning. It's already exciting to see what other people are up to. Yes, it can be that it's easier to get onto Teams on your desktop than on your phone. So if you're on the phone, maybe you use SMS. And I always like to flick off my Wi-Fi if I'm using SMS. I don't know whether that's just an Australia issue, but sometimes it can kind of be focusing on getting like messages through. Okay, Carla, interesting, because we've got a few people on that. Carla, where in the world are you? Are you open to using SMS, Carla? I think let's do that, and we will. I'll leave that on there for. I'll leave the QR code for you a couple of minutes. Let's use SMS. Would we call it SMS old technology compared to Teams? Who knows? But Carla, I'd say use that today, and then we can troubleshoot later. Okay. So as we're going through this experience, you will have had all your privacy messages. And then you will get to the piece that says, phew, that's the serious stuff out of the way. You may have actually set some time zones if you're doing SMS. But now follow the instructions to click on the action plan. I'm going to stop the share because I really want you looking at your Microsoft Teams or your SMS for this part. So click on the action plan and start to think about what is one thing you would like to put in place. Now you can put in up to 3, but you can come back to this later on in the conference if you're in another session and think, actually, that's an exciting one. Carla, I can see you're now in, which is fantastic. Just do your time zone and then you'll be in the right place. And what we're thinking about is what are you actually going to go away and take action on? What do you want to be held accountable to? And what would be beneficial for you in your role to put into place based on what you've learned? It could be, I feel, some explorations happening, some pilots happening. Let's actually click on that link, put in your first goal, and there's about 4 questions for each goal. And what you'll notice is while you're actually creating your action plan, you really need to be thinking about your goals. You need to be thinking about what you've learned during the conference.
For SMS, is the keyword the same? Joni's asking. Emma or Corey, do you know?
No, the keyword is different for each country because of the time zones, Vince. So let's just get those keywords up. USA is M. Hang on, I'll do a share screen so it's easier for you. They're
Corey
just on the bottom of the screen.
Corey just put it in the chat. So thanks, Corey.
And I'm just thinking about our US time zones. Here you are, when you're outside of the US, have you got all your US time zones correct? If anyone's struggling with a US time zone, I'm just looking. Okay, I think we're getting there now. Not sure if the Eastern time zone's coming up, whether we have many people in the East. If you're on Microsoft Teams, that's collected. Okay, great. I think we're progressing. I can see one person, Sean, thank you. You've already submitted your action plan. And for transparency, I'm following along in the background to kind of help us run smoothly here. Okay. And if anyone is in Eastern and we're having a difficulty with that, I'm going to manually set you later. So I love the flexibility we've got here. Okay, so most people here have submitted their action plan. Just going to give you another couple of moments to do that. And I'd focus on one goal for now. You can come back. Thanks, Laurie. I'll get onto that with the EST and make sure that you are changed. One of the advantages of using MS Teams is that it picks up your time zone automatically wherever you are in the world. So you don't have to answer the time zone question, only on SMS that we need to collect that data. So that's just one of those little things that can be useful to know. Great. Joni, I think you're now in. Just looking at those questions in the chat. Okay, good stuff. So when you press submit on your action plan, you'll get sent a copy of your action plan by email. And then you'll get a chance to book your time either with a human coach or with Coach M. Now, obviously, the key aim here is to get onto Coach M. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to integrate with the human coaching. And in fact, when we integrate with human coaching, you get a link to directly book your human coaching session. So quite often people might have unlimited access to Coach M and maybe just 2 coaching sessions as part of their program with a human. So we can really get the best of both worlds. We can get the scalability with the technology, whereas maybe in the past you might have had 6 human coaching sessions. You can get 2 and then support with Coach M. Great. So I can see people now going in to set their time with Coach M. And much as Joy mentioned earlier, the more you can get people to actually lead the process and actually select their own time, the more engagement you will get, because people are getting the time that actually works for them. Okay, so let's have a look at people making sure that everyone has selected their time. So you get the choice of either say you, Coach M, or Coach to go into my diary. And then you get to choose your own specific time. Great, I can see people booking their times here. Fantastic, Paul, you've completed your process. One of the things that we've done with our script is whenever you get a bye for now from Coach M, that's the end of that part of the conversation. As Joy mentioned earlier, the script is really important to get the tone, to get the personality. You want to have just enough personality that it's engaging, not so much personality that people want to just chat away. What we found is the higher the personality ranking, the less people will follow your instructions. The lower the personality, the less they'll engage. So you've absolutely got to get that sweet spot in the middle. So I'm going to kind of carry on with our sharing screen just to talk you through lessons learned. But what you will notice as we've gone through this experience today is so far we've really used Coach M as a data capture tool. Okay, you've been filling in your action plan, you've been reflecting on your learning, and you've been making commitments as to what you're going to put in place. And the date that you select to have your follow-up conversation with Coach M is when you'll get your chance to experience your learning break. You get a reminder the day before, and then which you can then change your time if that no longer suits, and then you'll get the message coming out on that morning or afternoon of whatever time you've selected. So it's exciting to think that in the future, people will be having this learning break conversation. And I really recommend people slow down, take time to reflect, and really see, have you implemented your learning from this conference? So lots of lessons learned within the last 5 years. Lesson learned in a positive way. What a great team the Mobile Coach team are to be part of. Fantastic support, a platform that can really enable you to shape your chatbot ideas. And of course, some organizations want to create from scratch and will work with Vince directly. And some people just say, Emma, we just need an off-the-shelf version of Coach M, and they work with us in that way. We have average gold uplifts across multiple projects of around 65%, the with or without. And we ask people the progress that they've made on their own, that they think they would have made on their own, and the progress that they made using Coach M to create their outcomes, and it's 58% higher. Coach M's won multiple Brandon Hall gold medals across 2 years now, including one for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion and Belonging program out of the UK, which we're really proud of the work that we did there. We also had the inspired idea to add the Get Coach function, which links directly to the human diary. But one of the really exciting things was leveraging the data that's actually been created through the conversations with Coach M. And I'm just sharing on the screen here some of the different things that we look at in terms of engagement and progress, so that you can identify risk and where people are on their actual Coach M journey. Also, you can look at how people's commitment scores are going up over a period of time. And this one, average commitment uplift, 115%. Of course, collecting data, opinion data at the end. What are the changes you've made? What have been the business benefits? That interactions with your manager, so you can get insights in there. Then we can also start to look at analysis, working on the goals and different areas of focus. So where are people focusing on actually applying their learning? What content or what modules are they taking from the program, putting into place? And also, what's the differences between the uplifts and changes that people are making across different goals? And obviously, you can get into sentiment analysis and all sorts of juicy things that the data can create. And then also you can start to analyze some of the conversations themselves. What are barriers that are coming up against that people are anticipating for implementing their learning? What are some of the actions that your top performers are putting into place? Who are people asking for support from? What are people most proud of? What are people most proud of from implementing their learning is one of my favorites. And you can see I get quite into the data side, although that was a journey for me because I really wanted it to be humans first, data second. So I'm here to ask questions. I know that was a lot of conversation, but really keen to answer any questions you have or thoughts or observations. Have we got questions in the chat bot? No, everyone's got too involved in setting that action plan, which is a good thing. It's a good thing for the conference, because the behavioral change part of learning is where it's all at, getting people to truly apply what they've learned.
Well, I liked how you mentioned that we can go back to that form later on, because I was a little stuck, like, I want to be thoughtful about my goals.
Well, Vince, people often think that. And do you know what happens? It's really difficult to go back. So I would say just put down your gut feel. Then if you want to go back and amend it, do. We find it takes on average 7 prompts to get people to actually come back to an action plan after they've left the learning experience. But Vince, you're right, people, and if there's any if there's any trainers or facilitators on the call today, I am so committed to action plan, Vince. And we've got a kind of just like a 1-hour recording of me saying how to make the most out of action planning. Really happy to share that with anyone if that's useful, because there is an art to action planning. It sounds so simple, we don't put enough time into it. So very happy to share that with your conference people. Corey, I can send you a link to that so that can go in the show notes, as we might like to say.
Ooh,
Yeah,
love to.
That'd be a wonderful
Yes.
resource. Thank you for letting us play with Coach M. Any questions or even just some reactions as you've tried this? I'd love to hear in the chat or in the Q&A section.
So Takesh is speechless. Thank you, Takesh. Thank you, Sean. And you'll see I just put in the chat there, Vince, the get action plan command. The get action plan command is the one that you use to go back in and access your action plan. Okay, so just use get action plan. That will bring your action plan up. You can add to that anytime before you start your actual learning break, which will be around, 14th of Feb, I think, for the people in the US. But also that instruction of the get action plan is on the email that you would have received in your inbox with the copy of your action plan as well. And of course, you might want to share the action plan with some of your colleagues or your manager to show them what you've got out of the conference.
Great. Well, if Coach M pings me on February 14th, that means I have a Valentine's Day date already.
Absolutely. You see, couldn't worked out more perfectly, could it, for the people
perfect.
in the US? Everyone's going to be wanting to spend time hanging out with Coach M on Valentine's. I can see it now.
Wow. Well, Em, thank you. It doesn't look like there's questions coming in. Thank you so much for sharing Coach M with us and your lessons learned. And again, for those of you that are watching the recording or on the presentation today, later this afternoon, things will go live on the conference site. So I think those great slides that you have shared, including that wonderful analytics slide, will be there available for you to check out. So thank you, Em. Any parting words for us?
Just lovely to spend time with the Mobile Coach team and community, and thrilled to be part of it, and really excited to see what projects everyone comes up with. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And thanks for everyone for tuning into this customer showcase. In about 7 minutes, we'll be having our next session led by our Corey Richards. And that session will be about new hire onboarding use cases. And then after that, we'll have a session by Sterling Mason, a very unique session there. That's more of a hands-on session where we'll be talking about the knowledge base feature and how to implement that for chatbots that can answer questions. And so, and then the last plug for our group project. It's not too late to join our group project. We are doing a community service together as part of this conference. We're designing a chatbot for a local food bank. We had our first group session yesterday. It was fabulous. I'm so excited to be doing this. And so again, not too late to join. Go to the conference website if you'd like to participate in that and sign up for that session. So thanks, everybody. And if this is the last we see you today, hope you have a great rest of the day. Otherwise, we'll see you all in future sessions today. Thanks. Bye-bye.